Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to an edition of Scoreboard here on ICNTT TV. It's always a pleasure every Tuesday evening, as of 8 to 9, where we talk sports here on this program, Scoreboard. Big shout out to all the loyal viewers and those people who continue to support the show. I thank you very much, because without the support, you don't really have any show. Before I get into tonight's topic and introduce my guests, I just want to say congratulations to all the nominees who were nominated at the First Citizen Awards, and also to Jereme Richards and Michelle Leahy for copying both the male and female version of the awards. Track and field really had a brilliant year last year, so I mean it was a foregone conclusion. Also, I just want to say for the people of the community of Faizabad, on Saturday the 16th of April, a young man is launching an initiative where he's bringing a bouncy land and fun park to the Sanderson Heritage Park in Faizabad. So I mean, we urging all the people in the community to go out and support. It's a young man who recently was one of the persons from Petrotrin who lost his job, and he's going into a new project. So I would like you Trinidadians, please go out and support, because he lost his job. He could have been in a corner so long moaning and groaning, but he's investing the little money that he got, right? So I'm asking you on this Saturday, the 6th of April at 2 p.m. It's just children $100 for all the activities, and you're going to be getting bouncy castle, mini pools and slides, go-kart, merry-go-round, and much more. For $100, you can't go wrong. So remember the date, the 6th of April, Sanderson Heritage Park, bouncy land and fun park. Now, to get into the nick of things in our interview segment, I want to introduce, you saw him here on Scoreboard a couple months back, and he's back, a man well known and renowned in the sporting world, and none other than Dennis Allen,
how are you doing, man, George?
The CEO of Rep 868, a man about tongue. He knows his job. Dennis, so much has happened in sports.
Huge, yeah, man.
Since we
start off.
Yeah, because the last time we spoke was a bit of a recap of 2018, and we were looking forward to 2019. And a lot of things have happened. But what I want to start with is, I don't know where you want to start.
Well, I just wanted to talk about my project
right,
a little bit before.
Let's start with Rep 868.
Rep 868. Obviously, 868 is our Trinidad and Tobago area code. It stands for TNT on an old phone, on your numeric keypad. And this is about representing 868, you know. But let me tell you something, we've touched so many people, Right now, I sent out some Rep 868 T-shirts, Havana edition, to the Cuba team. Just three friends of mine on the Cuba team, cycling team, Maylin, Claudia, and Mirta. And let me tell you something, the response has been so great. Obviously, Cuba, these embargoes, they kill sports. Cuba, we've seen it. Venezuela, we've seen it. And there wasn't much Cuban representation at the World Cycling Championships that just took place in Poland, something I will touch on later. And, I know how hard these athletes work, and it's just a little gesture. I sent them that. It reached a little too late for Christmas, but I sent them these 3 T-shirts. And let me tell you, the outpouring of love and appreciation is just huge, and give a couple of other youth athletes some T-shirts, not much, just the logo.
At least you're still doing your part.
And I was at school sports last weekend. You seen the tan, right? 4 days, the UV index is ridiculous, 40-degree temperatures, you're out there 8 hours in the sun. And one of the young athletes, Gianna Paul, she gave me a belated birthday present, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm tearing up with you. It's not always about the pay, George.
I always tell people that it's not always about the money. That when people meet you and they get that hug, that shake hand, the compliments sometimes it is worth more. Like, we need money, we know that. Right? But sometimes the compliments and that's the remarks, thank you for doing this. So, that makes a big difference.
Huge.
But a lot of people, we only focus on money and do things just for money.
Yeah.
But if you can lend a hand, and especially with the young people.
Like that Petrochin guy you were just talking about with his thing,
Right.
He ain't bound to do that.
No, he ain't bound to do that.
He ain't bound to do
he
that
could take
at
the
all.
money, but I would like people, I am already pledged my support for him already, right? And I would really like that those who are viewing the program, if you live around Faizabad, Point Side, go and support him.
Yeah.
You understand? Because he is showing that, outside of being retrenched, are going to do something still. Right? And he couldn't be a selfish person, take my money and just do nothing for the community.
Indeed. And something, it was weird, right? Like, on my drive down to come and tape today's show, passing the Point of Pear refinery and not seeing the flame was so odd. It was so odd, man.
And in such a short space of time, the last time I passed there, the fence started to fall down, it's like...
Yeah, but you know what? Petrotrin was a huge supporter of sports, especially in the southern part of Trinidad.
Southern Games.
Yeah, Southern Games. So a lot of things are up in the air right now because of that big gap with Petrotrin out of the market right now. And, recent news that they're going to sell off all of these assets. They're looking for... the government is going to get money, you know what I mean? But it's like if you're selling a pair of shoes
but at what expense?
And then walking barefoot from then.
Expense?
It's going to be tough.
I think I saw Jim Clark and them advertising that Southern Games will be happening this year, right?
So it happened last year, George.
It's I think the cycling going to be at Superior.
Okay. Superior has a nice little...
The track. Yeah. And the Sunday, the track event going to be at Maniram John. Right?
Interesting.
So I spoke with Jim. I was supposed to bring him on a program to talk more about it, as we go along, we'll get more information. But Petrotrin has really put a damp on a lot of sports in San Fernando more so. But anyway, let's talk a bit about the IAAF and the Diamond League. Now, the Diamond League, to me, is where athletes look to make their money, ply their trade, you understand, and go forward in life.
Well, let's do a little quick background look. This is the 10th year of Diamond League, right? It's an experiment where all of the privately run events, which were the top events in Europe, where all of the athletes would have gravitated towards, they would have gotten appearance fees and they would have also gotten prize money. Bislett Games and all of these different things. Some of these things were almost 100 years old, right? So they would have been at the root and start of the whole track and field experience for top elite athletes. Diamond League came in and they changed it. First of all, diamonds. $1 million in diamonds. I'm making the diamonds. I tell you how much the diamonds worth, right? $1 million in diamonds might get maybe about $100,000 on eBay. I don't know. So first of all, there was a red flag with the valuation of the prices. Now we're hearing that IAAF is boasting about $8 million in prizes. I don't know if you're familiar with what's going on, but that would be about roughly half of what Nike would pay to the USA Track and Field Association for their annual branding to put the swoosh on their kit. So when you really think about it, what is the real value? Obviously, IAAF lost a huge global sponsor in Adidas a few years ago with that huge scandal with all this corruption and all of that. Of course, the whole Russia anti-doping thing coming out of Sochi, that created a huge backlash. And there's a lot of what you would call toxic branding with IAAF that they have to recover. So we know it's a big hole, but I don't know if this is a well thought out thing. For the sake of the public who may not be intimate with it, they've reduced the number of sports.
From 32 now, I think it's 24.
So they've reduced the number of events at each meet, and they've also reduced the length of each meet that would be broadcast. So they're offering what they used to be offering is a 2-hour broadcast. Now it's a 90-minute broadcast. What does that tell you? It tells you that it's going to be sprints, and more sprints. Quick jumps, things that you could do quickly. They already, since before last year, they had reduced the number of jumps, and I think the throws as well, from 6 to 4. This is in an effort to keep it going a little faster. Obviously, certain athletes get cutaways because the throws and the jumps and the races on the track all happen simultaneously. So, like for instance, at the recently held NCAA indoors, we didn't get to see Akani's Hislop's race because it was run during our cutaway. We didn't get to see I didn't get to see Marcia Purito's run because it was run during our cutaway. And if it's not American and an American broadcast, you know you ain't really prioritizing it, right? But what does it mean? One of the events that they cut off is everything over 3,000 meters on the track. So that means there's no 10,000 meters, there's no 5,000 meters. What does that tell you?
But I mean, are you depriving the runners for the 10,000 and those longer races the opportunity to get a revenue?
Right, so they cut the number of meets, right? So there are 2 less meets this year and next year as well. Prize money, because they don't get a parent's money anymore, right? So it's only prize money you're running for. It's a problem because what happens is it's not that much money. If you don't win, what happens? Right? And the other thing is the other question, because it's really not a problem, because like I asked a couple of athletes, okay, do you have a problem with the qualification standards? And they're like, no, not really, because what are you running for? If you can't make the qualification standard, which is the entry level, then you're not really, you're not hoping to win. So what are you going for? You're just going for a trip on behalf of your national federation. So the athlete's not really worried so much about the higher, more competitive qualifying standards, but they looking at the
they have raised the qualifying standard?
Like sprints was, I think it was, for men's it was 10:20s, now it's 10:05. Right? Our national record before Arthur Bowler was 10:02, right? So that gives you an idea.
So we're likely to see...
So, no, it's not that. We had to step our game up. So it's either you're racing every weekend and you're trying to make the because half of the athletes that will attend the Tokyo Olympics will come from the ranking system, which is a problem because the ranking system is based on a few things: World Championships, Olympics, Indoor Worlds, all the top-rated events. What they call A qualifying, right? So you'll get the highest amount of points for those. But those are invitational. You can't qualify for a Diamond League, you know? So you might get a run in Diamond League or throw in Diamond League twice or jump twice out of the 10 or 12 that they will have. You know, so for NACAC athletes, our zone, we have a very low amount of entries in those things compared to the amount of success we've had at the international, like World Championships and the Olympics. So it's a crisis, and it's a crisis that cycling, which is another sport that we should go talk about a little later on in this hour. Cyclists will be like, oh, now you understand what's going on with us.
Definitely.
Because they always had that thing since about, I think the last time would have been Michael Phillips trying to qualify for Barcelona games. Either Barcelona or for Athens, would have been when they instituted the ranking system. So now our track and field athletes will be tasting what cyclists had to deal with for the last dozen or so years. So, and it's a huge financial burden because you don't want to go and run around with these little B and C rated stuff. You want to go to the top things, which is why athletes like Jacine and Nicholas Paul and Karen Bramble and Quincy Brown would have spent so much time and effort trying to go to World Cup events and World Championship events because you get the points there. So now we will start to see all of the top events heavily targeted by the track and field athletes because they will get the most qualification and ranking points for those events. What will happen to smaller events?
Well, I was now going to ask you that, what do you see as the benefit arising out of this whole new revamp system, right? And what are the disadvantages?
It comes down to this: TV. We watching TV now? You're watching TV now? And hey, big shout out to my fans up on Pitikurikai. I know you're going to watch this show. These ladies, let me tell you some quick These ladies walk every morning. Pitikurikai is a hill up into the mountains, and they walk that hill And these are, I don't like to say elderly because they walk in and I either walk that hill. I drive in the hill or I ain't leaving the house. And they do this hill, and there's a mix of ages. There's a mommy with her little daughter, and they walk this hill every day, George. And enough respect to the ladies, you know. They were like, hey, I see you on the show the other night. I was like, wow, thank you. You know, but TV is the god of sports right now. TV has run all the football, the money comes from TV. All the track and field, the main money comes from TV and the appearances of the brands on the television. So what happens? The Olympic movement is trying to expand into new modern sports. You're seeing surfing, skateboard, and all of that. But it's coming at the cost of what would be considered traditional sports, track and field. So they're telling the track and field, they're telling the IAAF, you have to cut down your athlete count. So how do you do that? You make the entry standards a little more competitive. Where's the color coming from our sport? All right? Trinidad and Tobago, we don't have the money to send people just for the trip or for the experience. We're sending people to try the podium. There's no shame in that, and there's no doubt about the policy. Same for Jamaica, same for everybody in the Caribbean. We don't have the money to spend. But what about places like Vanuatu or some other, you know, Oceania country or some of the smaller African countries where they don't have the money to go and send athletes every weekend to compete. The African Championships is the only top-rated event in the IAAF calendar. Okay. So what is going to happen? The smaller regional championships,
going to fall by the wayside.
Yeah, those things, they don't have the amount of ratings points. So you can't stay home and say, all right, I'm going to train for the qualifying standard. You can't risk it, right? Because although you might be in the zone and you might be able to reach there, if you go to a smaller smaller games or smaller event, who you're going to be competing against? Nobody to push you to the standard. So you might be running, you might run at 10:05, but who's coming second? You understand? They're running at 10:05, you're not getting pushed. So it creates a different mental competition space for these athletes who aren't able to run every weekend, jump every weekend, throw every weekend in Europe.
Hold it on for a moment. Viewers, we need to take a short break. We'll be right back. Remember, you're watching Scoreboard here on ICNTT TV. We'll be right back after the short break.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy.
Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua Matos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. I love you, Messi.
Unfortunately, kiss the badge, kiss the badge. Oh, what's that? Welcome to this edition of the interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shaquille.
Welcome back to Scoreboard here on ACT, and we're talking to the CEO of Rep 868, Dennis Allen. Dennis, before the break, you want to continue?
Yeah, you know, I don't want to spend too long on this because IAAF has its homework cut out. A big part of the problem is really about trying to reposition track and field into the public without the top Americans, because most of the top Americans have that taint. I shouldn't say most of it. I don't want to be unfair to Americans.
Yeah.
There are some significant brand name American athletes with that kind of taint. And they have not been able to get around that in their marketing scheme. So they have challenges, and they have to figure out, because at the end of the day, it's money. It comes down to the money. If you don't have the money, then you can't make the calls. You know, if you don't have the top star athletes, you can't call the shots. These broadcasters, there are too many different things going on. But staying in the point of track and field, the weekend coming up is Curfew Trials.
Yeah.
And you know, there's been a lot of negative commentary about the Trinidad and Tobago team's prospects and results over the last few years.
Yeah, because I don't think last year we did all that.
That's the thing, right?
But
we don't have a machine, you know.
Okay.
It's not a stamping machine. You know, every year you stamp a 10.5 sprinter. Every year you stamp a 10.5 sprinter, or a 10.2 sprinter, or a sub-10 sprinter. We don't have that machine. What we have is every year we have a lot of promising young athletes trying their best. And I think we need to start seeing it like that. In my opinion, if you have never paid for a ticket to come to a track and field event, then you really should try not to be commenting about these young.
Yeah, well, if you could quickly just sidetrack, you have a point there, because I've gone to the senior champs on many occasions, and basically what you see in the stands is the runners and their families. Yeah. And when you compare to what we see in our neighbor, Jamaica, primary school sports sellout, right? But our senior thing, and we have, and for the okay, you might say you ain't going Curfew because you ain't know nobody, but for the senior championship, we have our top athletes there, and you still don't get that turnout.
Yeah, but you know something, George? Who's to say what you see in Jamaica is not also friends and family? It's just they have a big pool.
Yeah.
Compared to us, okay, like secondary schools championships. Maybe about 1,000, 1,200 people in the stands, including all the athletes that competed as well.
But we should see more, because I mean, there's all these schools in Trinidad and Tobago that are taking part. Where are the students?
The Ministry of Education position is they're no longer paying for the buses to come to get these kids to the school, to the school sports. This has to come out of the school budget. The schools now have to raise funds for that. There's a long, I don't want to go too deep into it.
Yeah, well, let's go back to the Curfew.
Let me just say,
who are some of the athletes, because out of Curfew, you see prospects who you can keep focus on going into the CAC or the Pan American Games and further on. Now, when you look at Thompson, Bledman, Calendar, and these guys basically are coming to the end of their career. Who are some of the promising ones that...
Jalen Purcell off the top of my head.
Right.
Amazing young talent. Really, really passionate, you know. From South, you know, and runs with Simplex. He's supposed to have a scholarship later on this year. He's going to leave later on this season to take up his scholarship abroad. There are a lot of young athletes. Most of the Curfew Games athletes will get a scholarship. So when you start to think about what we're doing with our athletes, we spend so much time, these athletes training from age 5, 7, right? Sometimes 3-4 days a week. When you count that investment, a typical scholarship athlete would have had maybe about $100 and something to $200 and something $1,000 worth of investment in coaching, time, resources into their career. And then we give them away for free. And they go on and they run in NCAAs and not NCAAs, NCAA and NAIA meets for free. They don't get any pay. The club doesn't get any benefit. And then when they get a degree, what happens? They stay abroad. Very few of them will come back to Trinidad. If they do come back to Trinidad, they ain't have no job.
True.
So what is it that we're doing? We're planting, to use a quick metaphor, we're planting a seed, we're growing a tree, and then we're letting somebody jump the fence and pick all the fruit. That makes sense, right? So we have to change our paradigm. We have to start looking at homegrown things.
Where do that change coming from?
I think we've reached...
Who can implement that change? Because there must be somebody who can come and say, look, okay, this is what's going to happen from here, and this is how we go from here. Who is that person?
Well, okay. NCAAs is the government body. So everybody will point at the NCAAs. But NCAAs does not run primary school. The Ministry of Education runs primary school sports. The Trinidad and Tobago Track and Field, secondary schools track and field association.
That's a separate,
TTSSTFE, big mouthful. They run secondary schools track. And then the clubs run the entry is, right? Because the entry is executive is clubs run this is not Ephraim Seraph sitting down, there's no.
But do you think that all track and field, regardless of primary and secondary school, should come under the umbrella of the entries, who are the head of the athletics in Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes, but I'll say a quick only if the people understand that this has to change. People talk about, and there are a lot of people on the internet and social media, you know, nobody has no cover for their mouth on social media, right? Or the thumbs, as the case may be. They're quick to drag Ephraim Sarah, they're quick to drag the entries board, entries is the clubs. The clubs are the executive. Ephraim Sarah cannot go in and play God. He cannot go in and say, I am the master of things. No, he will be out very swiftly.
Next thing is, they'll say he manipulated the system.
There is no string to guide between primary school, secondary school, and club. Some of the club athletes, they had a meet on Sunday and they just simply did not perform, right? They were like, nah, I just not coming. Why? Because it's just, you have to decide what's your priority. So we need a cohesive sports policy that incorporates from primary school, secondary school, and into club and seniors and beyond.
But did we hear something last year about a sports policy on the card coming soon?
How many hours is the show? Because we could talk about it, but that would be the whole week.
Yeah.
No, the sports policy, I mean, the ministry is doing what it could. Right now, oil money is low, so yeah, we got to salt, Judge. We have to salt. But the fact is, private companies just not stepping up. They're just not stepping into the gaps.
Is it that the private companies not stepping up because of some of the bad tastes of organizers have placed in their mouths over a period of time? Take, for instance, we could name football.
Oh, gosh.
Right? So where we might sit and say corporate Trinidad and Tobago not getting involved in and sponsoring, on the other hand, we have to be sympathetic with corporate Trinidad. Because when you look around, right, there are so many sporting agencies that there is always some. Recently, the cricket board.
It always have back now.
So why would I be investing my money in something that
the toxic brand
next 2 days, you know, my name or my brand name is going to be calling in some money scandal or something like that?
Yep, you nailed it exactly.
Right. So should the sporting entities now take a look at themselves in the mirror and clean up their act and then go forward?
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. What happens is, you don't have the resources, so you don't have the events. You don't have the events, you don't have the marketing, you don't have the crowd. If you don't have the crowd, then you keep spiraling downwards. Then what happens? Then your maximum leadership has to take over, because if you don't have the resources, you're not going to attract the best volunteers, you're not going to attract the best professionals. Excuse me. So what will happen is your maximum leadership is coming in and saying, well, okay, I'm going to take over this thing. I am going to put what I want because I know I could run this. And it happens. And what happens is, the kind of cheerleaders will step back and everybody will just be ball gazing while the maximum leader is just doing whatever they're doing. And that creates a problem. What happens? Something goes wrong, toxic branding. There are people in the media who quick, no matter what, every time you pick up the call, hey, so. And they run the movie long stories. They're always bad mouthing and they don't care. And what I tell people, what I tell NSO is this, for every inch that you see of a bad story, you need about 20 inches of good story to make up for that. Because Trinis like a bad talk. We like that. And there aren't enough wins, there aren't enough successes. Look at a simple thing like the cycling team abroad. We did well in Poland. We did amazingly well
I think
in
this is the first time in, I would say, years, I mean, I'm subject to correction, that our cyclists has been performing at so many major events.
We have 4 sub-10 cyclists on the track at the same time.
And Nicholas Paul is
number 4 in the world.
In the world, eh?
In the individual sprint, right? Now, that's amazing, right? What is the main stories coming out of it? Cycling Federation have a lawsuit against it for the selection process.
Yeah.
Why is that a story? Enough respect to the athlete in question, but come on, man. You know what I mean? Ride your bike, make the team. You're not going to make the team through the court.
Yeah.
All you're going to do is you're going to drag the flag, right? If you can't make the team, okay, no problem. If you could make the team, then make the team. You know what I mean? I follow you on Instagram. Show me your times, man. I would be your full supporter. I will go to town for you. I will go to bat for you.
Yeah.
But if you're not, then what are you doing?
Because I think besides the selection, I think there's a law. Some court matter now where he sent a pre-action protocol letter to Rowena Williams.
I'm not sure if it's a pre-action protocol letter.
But some letter has, some court matter has been in.
No, it could be a lawyer letter.
Okay.
Which is, now, there are certain attorneys' names attached to the matter that I wouldn't call, but preeminent. Very, very good, strong representation. But at the end of the day, can you ride a bike faster than the 4 guys ahead of you?
Yeah.
If the answer is no,
then shut up.
That's the door over there.
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, then I can vouch for Aaron. Aaron Hartwell, the coach and the technical, he wearing about 4 hats, so you could call him anything you want. Aaron will put you there. You know why? Because Aaron knows what needs to be done. Aaron not here in Trinidad because he loves his wife Terry and because he loves his daughter. He's not here because he's here to see how fast he could get these Trini guys to ride bike. And for no real other reason, because that's what he does.
But honestly, under him, we have seen emergence of cycling in Trinidad and Tobago, being shown that we need to take another break. So when we come back, we're going to wrap up with the Carifta over this weekend. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy.
Welcome to Field of Dreams on ICNTT. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua De Matos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. Hello, Messi.
Unfortunately, kiss the badge, kiss the badge. Oh,
What's that? Welcome to this edition of the interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard on ACT. And if you're now joining us, we are talking sports tonight, and my guest is Dennis Allen, the CEO of Rep 868, and we are touching on some of the major talking points in sports for 2019. Quickly before we jump into another segment, from your point of view, what are you expecting, and who are some of the names in the Carifta running for this year?
I don't want to put too much pressure on some of these young athletes, but I just watched some Jamaicans. Now, the funny thing is, the Jamaican athletes peak for champs. And then after champs is Curfter. So Curfter is, oh yeah, by the way, champs is bigger for them. So we just see some amazing talent on the track and thing. But I'm also looking at, we have some challenges with the 400 meters in Trinidad and Tobago. But at the same time, we have a huge explosion in the throws. Yeah. So we have Shakira Cook, discus, huge talent. We have Ayana Roach in the shot put, huge talent. She had a weird year last year, and she wasn't polished. I think it was some new techniques, adjustments to that, and it wasn't. But I think this year she going to take some scalps. It's going to be crazy. We have some other young javelin throwers, Veon, we have Tahilia.
Of late now we are seeing an emergence of field.
Tobago, let that make the Tobago throwers, whatever it is, they're feeding them kids over there, Seymour's, you know, all that good kingfish and blue food. It's been working, let me tell you. And the Tobago throwing athletes are doing exceptionally well, and they've been really leading it. So I expect more of that to continue. I'm really excited about that. I think we have a big gap in the 400, both men and women. It's a gap here, if you want to call it that. But I really want to see Ryan Seville do well this year. I want to see Natasha Fox from South, Malika Coutier. I want to see them do well as well. Of course, the short sprints, we have an abundance of talent, and that's going to continue as well. I think we're going to have a really good 4x1, men and women. Really looking forward to seeing them. It's going to be in Grand Cayman. Grand Cayman is British Palms, so you know the struggle is always getting our athletes there. The entry is, I have to say, they won the best NSO at...
Yeah, I think for the fourth or fifth. Yeah.
And there is no doubt in my mind why they get that.
No, we have to give credit to Seret and the organization, because track and field has really done well in the last couple of years. I mean, we have done tremendous, similar to the cycling. I think the last couple of years have been the best years for track and field and cycling sports in Trinidad and Tobago.
And what the other the chess federation, Sandra has been doing a lot.
Yeah.
She's on a committee at the international level. I mean, brilliant woman. She went Saints. Saints, so I had enough respect. There's a portion of that Saints education that we're seeing displayed here. But she's an amazing person. She's really bright as well, and she's now in an opportunity to apply that intellect. A lot of times you find bright people, but they don't have opportunities to apply and demonstrate the intellect. She's gotten that, and we're going to see a lot more of that coming out of there too. So, I want to see more chess coming. It's something that I liked as a child. I tried to get my children into it. And recently we lost Double Rooks, Carl Jacob, former colleague at Guardian, and he wrote the Double Rooks column every week for such a long time, which is the main chess story in the paper. And he led that from that point of view. So, enough respect to Carl and the work that he has done for his career, and my condolences to his family.
Another major talking point in sports, in the sporting industry right now, is the transgender issue, where I don't know where to start with that one, because
I can. Let me tell you where to start. If you go on IAAF right now, you're not seeing a male or female on the athlete profile. Why is that? If you go in a race, it's either men or women.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to do in your private time. But if you're telling me that for you to achieve whatever your personal goal as a human being, you need to take chemicals, you need to have surgery, and then you want to compete as something that you were not born as, why is that? So on one side, the IAAF is, and the NCAA, they're allowing transgender athletes to compete in the gender that they identify as. Okay, cool. Why? Right? And at the same time, you're fighting Doncaster Semenya, who was born a woman, identifies as a woman, whether she is a gay woman or not, that's not my business, but she's a woman.
But she was born,
Internal testes, what is that? If you go and you say, all right, I, George, going and run in a race tomorrow, anybody go and check what's in your pants? No, they check your birth certificate and whatever you have there. So now to accommodate this thing and its political correctness and in the how many thousands and thousands of years of human history, we're only seeing this happening in the last 10 or so. Am I being homophobic by saying that I don't want a transgender athlete to run outside of whatever their birth category is? Because you're telling me I'm cisgender? No, no, no.
I saw MMA bout about
what they would now referring to as born male athlete competing in the women's.
Right. And
destroying people's faces, breaking eye sockets.
That woman nearly killed the next woman, right? Because she was huge. And you can see that although the face structure is that of a woman, you could have seen the build was that of a man. Right? And although they were in the same weight level, it was a totally unacceptable.
Your muscular density, your bone density, your strength, your hormones is just one part of it. And the other thing that I have a problem with, what are the long-term health effects of hormone therapy? No one is putting that down. So you're killing yourself to compete as a man or a woman or whatever. And hey, whatever, man. You know what I mean? I know how hard it is to ride a bike or run a race every morning. You get up and you're doing that training, going to the gym. I know how hard it is. As an athlete, I know how difficult the challenge is. To add on top of that, you have gender bias and gender issues. All right, all right. But I am putting the line at what were you born as? That to me is where it should end. I am not homophobic. I have homosexual friends. I have homosexual family members. I hug them. I love them. And I have no problem with that. Obviously, there are issues with that this has nothing to do with sport. But when you step on the line and you put your foot in them blocks, it's either you're in the male race or you're in the female race. If you were born a man, why do you want to compete against women? What is that about? What you do in your personal life is your personal life. You could compete against men if you were born a man and go and do whatever you want to do after the race. That's your personal business. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to come on George's show and say, boy, scoreboard, boy, you know, after the race, the man who win was going to, I'm not going to discuss that. We're not going to have a whole segment on that.
That's right there.
This, to me, you have to draw the line. And I keep saying I'm not homophobic. Because that's the first thing, you know, it's not a civil right. Because if it was not for modern pharmaceuticals and modern surgical technique, you would not have been a man, or you would not have been a woman. You would not have been able to do that. Some botched surgery somewhere, some Frankenstein surgery would have happened, and you'd have been dead, right? And that was the case for many, many decades until successful surgery, gender reassignment surgery has taken place. All of a sudden now you want a lane? Why?
But who do you responsible for that? The
IAAF. NCAA, right? In the same way they have para athletes, all right? Look at Nyosha Kane. Nyosha Kane has one shorter, smaller foot, right? Nyosha Kane is the fastest woman with both full legs in her 100-meter and 200-meter event, right? Fastest woman in the world. Everybody else has either one or two amputations, right? Look at Akeem Stewart. Akeem Stewart has one leg that is longer and both. All right. Akeem Stewart is an amazing athlete.
Yes, very amazing.
Where do they compete? They compete in para. right? And Nyosha Kane runs, when she runs in Trinidad, she runs against everybody else. They don't put a little asterisk next to Nyosha. They don't give her a special prize or anything. She runs with everybody else and anything. When Akeem wins, Akeem won the shot put last year. When he wins. Open. Your challenge as a female who feels they want to identify as a male or vice versa is to beat whoever it is that you were born in that same category with. Go and beat them. All right? Because otherwise, the IAAF needs to put a third category. Male, female, other. And I'm not being disrespectful because there are so many different letters that go in LGBTQIR or whatever. And I'm not being disrespectful. Your personal identity is that.
Because the South African runner, right, she was born that way. Right? As a woman, right? She has a male appearance, right?
She's married to a woman. Yeah.
Okay.
She lives as just listening to her on the BBC, you'd hear her. The question was put to her, what about children in your future? And she talks about plowing her seed.
But as we say, that is outside of the sport.
Exactly.
But inside of the sport, she was born a woman.
She's born a woman.
She is a woman, right? And I think that besides Usain Bolt, I think she has to be the most tested female athlete.
And Serena.
Right? And you're putting so much stress on that individual, but you're allowing those who were born male or female who changing.
Yeah.
Right? Who body
CC Telfer.
Yeah.
Name. CC Telfer last season was Craig Telfer.
Right, yes.
Right? Craig Telfer was an ordinary average athlete. CC Telfer is ranked in top 10 in the women's 100, 200, 60, I think. No, 60 and hurdles. Why? CC, come on.
And you're not hearing no major...
And I don't think CC has had gender reassignment surgery either.
But you're not hearing no big uproar about them.
Not from whom? Right. The athletes? The athletes in NCAA, NCAA, they're like slaves. No disrespect to anybody, but athletes in NCAA are slaves. Look at this guy, Duplantis. He's the pole vault world champion. He did a world indoor record at an NCAA meet. What did he get? A smattering of applause from the crowd. Right? If he had done that at an IAAF meet, he would have gotten a bonus. The bonus would have been probably about $100,000 US. But because it's an NCAA and he can't perform as a professional, guess what? Got to do that for free. How many times has that video been shared online or whatever? It's a con job, and these athletes are being taken advantage of. And I mean, it's a high-level competition, but it's a con job. But they're allowing athletes that self-identify. I do not think Mr. Craig Telfer, in his transition to CC Telfer, had any gender reassignment surgery. But the young man did enough of the hormone suppression therapy that he could prove that he was using hormone suppression for enough time to meet the NCAA standard. So now he can self-identify and also compete as a woman. What is that? And his university, they send a female athlete and he's winning all these awards. Well, sorry, she is winning all these awards. Come on, let's be real here. Right? I only have boys, right? I have 4 boys. Right? So it's different for boys because boys will be competing against a born female athlete who now gender identifies as a man. Are we going to say that we're going to allow born female athletes to take steroids and pump themselves up so they can compete chemically at the same level as men? Why is it that it's more misogyny and women hatred, right? That's how I feel. And of course, my opinion, anybody come at me, I'm ready for them. At the end of the day, George, I think we've gone too far with trying to be politically correct, and we're hurting the chances of athletes. Who are these young women who CC Telfer is competing against that?
It's a disadvantage for them.
Yeah.
That's why I go back to the same MMA bout. I mean, if it was like, when they said 2 people in the same weight, and I looked at
look at like UFC, Amanda Nunes. Amanda is a born woman. She lives a gay lifestyle. I don't care. She could real fight. she take the scalps off of everybody. But she's born woman, you know, and she's not on any hormone suppression therapy and no gender reassignment. She's a woman, and whatever her lifestyle is, that's her business. It's not my business. That's for her and her God to sort out. All right. I am not going to be wearing a Amanda Nunes T-shirt. I'm not going to be waving and making an Amanda Nunes commercial. But if that's her choice, no problem. Am I going to watch her fights? And I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to watch her bootleg. But when it goes up on YouTube, I'm there. Why? Because she's an amazing female fighter. Exactly. Born that way.
Well, it goes back to the same thing. I mean, we support you as an athlete, but we don't support your lifestyle.
Yeah, look at Cyborg also in UFC. Cyborg had to go down in weight, had to do all kinds of things. Hurt herself. I think she probably lost 10 years out of her life to compete at a lower level. Also used performance-enhancing drugs earlier on in her career. She's paying the price for that, right? Cyborg was born a woman. End of the day, whatever you want to say, she have her papers to say that. Now we're in a state, I think New York State, has gender-neutral birth certificates now. What's that? Church, come on. How many?
Say one twice.
Yeah, but whatever, you could fill it in later on. You know, come on, man. I don't know, man. I think we reached every civilization reaches an apex before it goes down. I think we've reached to the apex where we're starting to realize that some of the decisions that got us to here, and it's not civil rights. You can't tell me you have a civil rights issue if it took surgery and chemistry to get to there.
Yeah.
Right? You know what get me this dark? The sun. That's what gave me this.
Because you see, the problem is, when a normal athlete takes enhancing drugs, steroids, you are banned, right? Because you are doing something to enhance your speed or your fitness or whatever it is, right? When a man do a change to come over now into a female sport, he comes in with a disadvantage because you are taking something to make you something what you are not really is. Right, but you have that strength and everything as a male. So how could you be on an even playing field with a normal female?
1 year of feminizing hormones does not take away from 18 or whatever 20 years of being born and growing up and going through puberty and being an athlete as a young male, teenage male. Come on, the amount of weights I could have thrown up at age 15 in the gym, Georgia, I would have been like, yeah, a different mentality. I might have been one of them guys we were talking about, you know, but at age 15, 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. I didn't see a lot of women athletes around my size, George. You know, and not a lot of 15-year-olds certainly. You know, my girlfriend at the time, she was tall as well. She was just a little, about an inch shorter than me, and she probably was about 30 pounds lighter than me. But she could not go in the gym with me. It wasn't the same. It's not the same. So to pretend that it is the same, and that's all of that, okay, cool, whatever. All right, yeah, you allow it, whatever. To do this, we are telling these trans athletes, you have to kill yourself with hormones that change your entire body chemistry. Why? That's not good. That's not a healthy thing to tell people, right? It is based on body, what is this, dysmorphia, if that's the right word. It is based on a self-hatred. It is based on chemical alteration of your body. It's a body modification. Why are we doing this? And I don't want to sound like a hammer in this
I think we just have about 10 minutes remaining in the program, but we have touched on some major topics, you know, on tonight's program. Where do you see the next couple of about 5 minutes remaining? Quickly. What are some of the sports that you are looking at right now that you are seeing greater things ahead in the coming months?
Archery. Raul David, I think his name is, won an award at the FCB. In my Facebook page, TT Game Plan, you're starting to see a weird cross-pollination, and it's the most amazing thing. You're starting to see archers sharing track and field posts. You're starting to see cyclists sharing track and field posts. And this is crazy. There's almost pause raising, you know. I was listening to Swedish House Mafia, and it's like the goosebumps are never wrong, you know. It's amazing to see what is happening with some of what we would have been calling fringe sports. Sport company has 10 sports, I think, under their remit, and I think the Ministry of Sport had a 5 sport as their main sports, and everything else was secondary sports. Track and field, cycling, cricket, football, netball, and those sports do well. But outside of that, we have an amazing amount of talent. And you know, there's always a blessing and a curse side to anything. So the blessing is the athletes are thriving. We've seen a lot of young athletes at the recently held National Indoor Archery. They did some national records and age group records, and it was really great. But we were also seeing that it stretches our resource base. And the first thing we talked about is where the money coming from. Another great sport that with a lot of young talent, Shakira Debole, she got a nomination there.
Yeah, in
badminton. Badminton has a lot of young athletes coming up, real good athletes. We need more resources, and we need to reshift how we think about sports, because our sports infrastructure is the best in the Caribbean. There are states in the USA that do not have all of these facilities. There are in countries in Latin America that do not have this amount of facilities. Cricket, football, track and field, gymnastics, cycling. We have so many different things. We don't have the support.
Well, Dennis, we have run out of time. Again, it was a pleasure. There's so much more we could touch on, maybe at another program.
Bring me back, man.
But we are going to be looking forward to the remainder of this year, Carifta, and then we have
World Championships,
and then we have the boxers supposed to be leaving for some major tournaments. So we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But let's hope that as 2020 approach and is election year, money will start to flow. Yeah. And at least if they at least can get one good year of financial funding and do something, it will be worth it. Yeah. So again, buddy, thanks a lot, and we see you again. Thank you, viewers, for viewing this program. We are on every Tuesday evening around 8 to 9, where we talk something relevant in sports. And again, I want to thank my guest, Dennis Allen. And you must look up his page on Facebook, Rep868. He's doing a lot in sports. So we're going to see you next week at same time.